Shirley here with Sirius Stellus Moon, and we have 7 degrees ascendant Sag and Midheaven conjoining Ketu. So, Jupiter hour, Jupiter in the 8th house, 18 degrees Cancer, Moon in Capricorn, Saturn 29 degrees Pisces. So, some of you may have seen all the Epstein scandals and Diddler scandals and wondered, how do Peter rings get exposed? And the thing is that you probably imagine yourself a remote island where everything happens and has no connection to common society and so on, but it's actually way more simple than that. Let's say a person goes to work. They have kind of a Me Too case, so they leave work, then they try to do other things with their lives. Maybe they study a new profession and so on and so forth. Now this person is trying to, recover, heal, and so on. Now what happens? The people that they meet at the juncture from all walks of life would have to do with the trafficking ring. And maybe they were, a student in academia, or a TA, or a teaching assistant, research assistant, or, some of these things. They came to work, they came to, begin their lives, right? Make money, begin their lives. And so, with the years, more and more people that were involved with targeting that person, and that person is probably 1 in every 2-3 people. Okay, so 1 in every 2-3 people goes through that, and some even say 1 out of 1. And so what happened is that the effort that it takes to traffic people begins to be exposed. And the many people from all walks of life that are involved with that begin to be exposed. Because, and what the person that is just saying no to, for them it was, I don't know, saying no to romantic advances from their boss, or saying no. It was something simple. And that's what a lot of people don't get. It was something simple, and then they noticed something funny. Like somebody was trying to hypnotize them, or somebody was trying to do weird thing, and that, let's say they can go 5-10 years before they call that weird things a name, and then it's like watching YouTube, like release chords, refreshing the energy, banish traffickers and trafficking. Okay. Okay. Something for targeted individuals, and then they see all the things that they learned, like how to manifest, how to create stuff, and so on. They see the people in Utah dealing with the same problems, then they see the people in Detroit dealing with the same problems, and they live, I don't know, in Europe or in Africa or in Palestine. Now what happens is, several of these people begin to connect. Then they say, okay, ritual satanic abuse. I did not go to ritual satanic abuse. It was just, wait. Oh, yeah, those were the things that were coming up around. Okay. What has to do with Epstein? My God, I thought it was some Eckveld Island somewhere. And it's only because that person that said no, if they would have let go of that person that says, I don't want to do anything with that. And that person would really have like their own housing, their own ability to make a living, and so on. It's like then that person would just think of like that boss was really abusive and abrasive. I'll go elsewhere. I have to stay where it's not comfortable for me. But then what that person doesn't have, okay, at every juncture, and it's one in one. Literally every person to try to get a job, to try to rent a house, and so on. Now what happened? Masses upon masses of people. And so when those things happen, then stuff gets exposed. Now, the person is just leaving that, okay, leaving those traffickers, doesn't even know that they're traffickers. But the domino pieces already fall, and the people that have an interest to collect the data, they don't even need the testimony. They have everything on record. And the person that was hurt doesn't even know that it was on record. Even the stuff that was psychic underneath gloved hands. Now the person that did the things underneath gloved hands think they're underneath gloved hands. They don't know that they're broadcasted. And so we get one thing leads to another, and you see the Diddler exposed, the Epstein exposed. And then they get to the testimonials of the people that were in those places. And they get all the information. And this is how we begin to see. And then when happens, something like that is exposed, we will see that's horrid, that's terrible. And then, well, that's connected to MK Ultra and the Mossad. Okay. Well, the Mossad is like, who hasn't had their phone tapped? Okay, then how do they even find these people? And you don't ponder about that. And probably that would be the situation if people would have like housing and so on and so forth. But then what happens is the implications of those extortion codes that run to the supposed intelligence that's supposed to protect people's security begins to unfold. And it's one thing and one thing only. Without sexual sovereignty, there is no sovereignty. When there's trafficking, there's no sovereignty for anyone. Why people said the Me Too went too far? Because if it got a little bit, an inch forward, the entire domino would fall, which already began. In 2008 it began. And now, what the belief was is that they're going to collapse the system and offer the solutions coming from whether it's the mafia, whether it's this, whether it's that. But the people are not going to trust those solutions. And what people are doing, oh, but you have no choice, but you have no this, then they can't expect loyalty. Because because the NDAs were illegal. If a person being extorted, now if the court system doesn't exist, it doesn't matter. It means that the more abuse of power, the less legitimacy over the monopoly over power on whoever does the abuse of power. And it means that the energy that I have to invest in oppressing people is no longer going to be economic. People have a telos, they have a trajectory. You see, now millennials are in their 40s. Millennials were some of the most talented generations. They were the generations that began to self-study everything, and they had the access to those everythings because of the internet. I have colleagues, astrologers, that were 20 years astrologers, and then they see the younger generations, only a couple of years difference. And they say, I deal with people that by the time that I got to learn that in astrology, they as beginners already had that information. And then they say, well, what about the patronage? What about the mystery school? What about the Epstein ring? What about the Luciferian rites in the Ivy League? What about the trafficking cults? What about the cults of personality? What about sovereignty? So people had a Me Too case in academia. They'll never take a course in academia. They'll never take, even if that academia, everything calls itself academia, they'll never take an academic course. They'll never enter that setting anymore. It's a power setting that they just opt out of. They might buy your digital product. They might buy your digital teachings. But they will not enroll themselves in an academic of anything. Definitely not for rites and rituals where they have to do things that they don't understand to get that book or to get that piece of information. People opt out. And so those people that thought to create a big problem then offer their own solution. In the age of Aquarius, people are going to question that solution. Even let's say housing first. Who's going to fund for this housing first? What does it mean housing first? Can they kick us out? If they kick us out, it's not housing first. Right? Section 8 is not housing first. It never was. It's a scam, in fact. If you own a Section 8, you're not doing a good job. You're a part of something that's scammy for the people. Then they tell you that the tenants are problematic. And if you're going to buy that bullshit, that you're going to be up next for the death and concentration camps in the United States, and many of them from your taxes, because if you are a benefactor of the US government, you also pay taxes. Which are funneled also through Epstein rings. So this is how generations upon generations get exposed. Now think about millennials. They're in the 40s. A person in their 40s begins to think about retirement. They don't care about the dumb fuckery scams that other people did. It's their problem. They're not less entitled to retire with respect and human rights. They don't care about the Mormon cults that want to bring I don't know what. They don't care about that. Our sexual sovereignty is ours. You don't decide for us who we sleep with, who we don't sleep with, who we marry, who we don't marry, we stay single, we stay this, we stay that. And they have charts upon charts. They're not doing astrology the way the Indians did astrology. They know Vedic astrology. They're not doing astrology the way the Pluto-Leos did astrology. They know solar astrology. They're not doing astrology the same way evolutionist astrology does astrology. They know evolutionary astrology. That's the Uranus Sagittarius. They're not doing Hellenistic astrology the way Hellenistic astrology was doing Hellenistic astrology. They know Hellenistic astrology and they bring things together to accommodate for what is right for now. So a lot of generations before them, they don't quite get the millennials. And they try to push them into a one world religion. Uranus Sag into a one world religion, really. They see the many commonalities in many sects and religions. Fantastic, that is fascinating. You don't decide for them what God to worship. Because you're working for an Epstein Peter ring? I'm not even going to Gen Zers. Millennials. Millennials are in their Uranus opposition. They expect to travel the world. They don't care about your world wars. You never gave them dividends from the economy. And everything was about corruption. If they said no to corruption, they weren't a part of the economy. And every time they tried, they saw another crooked thing. And those of them that went with that crooked unalived themselves, like that Bitcoin FTX something. The JP Morgan prodigy. JP Morgan told them to do that. It's like the bone marrow. They tell people to do everything that would affect their bone marrow malefically, and then they say that the blessing for that and that degree is the bone marrow, blessing for the bone marrow. People either have to adapt to a world that is without slavery and without trafficking. Like, it shouldn't be that difficult.